There are places in the world where humanity insists on remaining, even knowing that the very land beneath their feet can become a silent enemy. And few know this terror as intimately as Japan. Imagine living on the edge of an ocean, capable of swallowing entire cities in minutes, while the ground that should support your home trembles more than 500 times a year. Now imagine depending on a single colossal structure, a concrete wall stretching 400 kilometers, as your last chance of survival when the sea decides to advance again. The question that remains is simple but disturbing. How far can human desperation go to try to prevent the inevitable? There are moments in history when an entire nation is forced to confront its own vulnerability. In Japan, this fragility has never been hidden. It is etched into the coastlines, the constantly colliding tectonic plates, and the records of centuries of disasters that have shaped its culture, architecture, and even collective behavior. Yet none of these dark chapters prepared the country for the devastating impact of March 11, 2011, when the ocean revealed the true scale of its power. The destruction of that day redefined how Japan saw itself, not as a victim, but as a survivor trying to prevent history from repeating itself. It was from this trauma that an idea as bold as it was unsettling emerged: to erect a gigantic, almost uninterrupted wall stretching 400 kilometers along the country's northeastern coast, not as a symbol of invincibility, but as a calculated attempt to delay the inevitable. A barrier of concrete and steel designed not to conquer the sea, but to negotiate a few precious minutes with it. Minutes that, in the context of a tsunami, can separate life from death. Japanese engineering thus transformed a national tragedy into a monumental experiment in human resilience. When studying the northeastern coast of Japan, the first inevitable question arises: why did an entire nation choose to remain precisely where the ocean repeatedly demonstrates its capacity for absolute devastation? The answer lies deeply rooted in centuries of economic, cultural, and spiritual dependence on the sea. Japanese communities in this region developed on fertile lands formed by natural deposits left by ancient tsunamis, creating villages that thrived on fishing and coastal agriculture. The risk was never ignored, but in a way accepted as the silent price of living in an environment where the ocean is simultaneously provider and destroyer. This ambiguity shaped local identity and hindered any attempt at mass relocation. Based on this cultural reality, Japanese engineers understood that any solution should respect the ancestral bond between the populations and the coastline. It wasn't just about building a physical obstacle, but about creating protection that would allow the continuation of this way of life. That's why the wall project didn't begin directly with concrete, but with the meticulous collection of historical, geological, and anthropological data. More than 1,000 years of tsunami records were mapped, analyzing everything from written accounts from the Heian period to flood marks left on rocks and temples. This information revealed grim patterns: waves exceeding 20 meters, entire villages wiped out, and a cyclical repetition of destruction that defies human memory. The past, however distant, imposed its warnings. With this scenario in mind, urgency became inevitable. The 2011 disaster was not seen as an anomaly, but as confirmation of a pattern that would always return, sooner or later. The decision to erect a 400-kilometer wall was not taken out of bravery, but out of extreme pragmatism. It was the realization that Japan could not rely solely on warning systems, sirens, or evacuation routes. The ocean was too fast, the geography was too treacherous, and the margin for error was non-existent. The wall emerged as the only possible alternative within the implacable logic that governs the encounter between human life and the tectonic forces that shape the Sea of Japan. When engineers analyzed the impact of the 2011 tsunami, they realized that what destroyed the old barriers was not just the height of the wave, but the violence with which the mass of water moved. A tsunami is not an ordinary wave. It is a liquid wall, carrying debris, sediment, vehicles, entire houses, and a dynamic force capable of pushing structures weighing hundreds of tons. Understanding this lethal mechanics was fundamental. Therefore, before any physical construction, a series of experiments began in specialized laboratories scattered throughout Japanese universities and research centers. There, Reduced-scale models of coastal walls were tested under extreme conditions to simulate the brutality of real tsunamis. Every failure, every crack, every subtle displacement of the concrete was recorded as an alert that demanded an immediate review of the project. These simulations revealed something unexpected. The destructive force of a tsunami is not concentrated solely at the height of the wave, but primarily at its base, where hydrodynamic pressure reaches its maximum. This data determined the final shape of the wall. To prevent the wall from being torn from its foundation, it was necessary to bury it deeply, deeper than any coastal structure ever built by Japan. The decision was then made to sink foundations between 20 and 25 meters into the ground, creating a kind of underground anchor capable of withstanding the push of millions of tons of water. The trapezoidal base was also not an aesthetic choice, but a direct response to the tests. The wider the base, the more stable the structure against the impact of the sea. But even with the design defined, the terrain presented another obstacle. Most of the Tohoku region, where the project would be installed, has sandy and fragile soils, the result of thousands of years of marine deposits. Heavy structures tend to sink, crack, or tilt in this type of soil. This required large-scale prior reinforcement, involving deep drilling and the installation of concrete and steel piles to stabilize the subsoil. The goal was not only to create support for the weight of the wall, but to prevent it from gradually collapsing over the decades. The work, therefore, began by battling the soil even before facing the ocean, a constant reminder that each stage would require absolute precision, with no room for error. With the land stabilized and the final design approved, Japan faced the most visible and also the most controversial part of the construction, erecting the seawall that today defines the landscape of hundreds of kilometers of coastline. The process was slow, meticulous, and repetitive, but every detail had a practical reason. First, specialized teams assembled gigantic steel rebar structures, molding rigid skeletons that would serve as the base for the concrete. It was necessary to ensure that these structures could withstand not only the direct impact of the waves, but also the corrosion cycles caused by the constant sea air. After each completed session, rigorous inspections sought any imperceptible flaw that could compromise the integrity of the work in the future. As the wall took shape, another challenge emerged: the relationship between the structure and the daily lives of coastal communities. Some villages began to live in the shadow of a wall up to 15 meters high, altering the landscape and dividing opinions. For some residents, the wall represented security. For others, it symbolized a prison, a constant reminder of the threat looming beyond the horizon. In response, urban planners and local authorities sought to adapt sections of the structure, to integrate walkways, access roads, and communal areas on top, transforming what could be a visual obstacle into a functional element of the city. Even so, the presence of the wall carries a psychological weight that is impossible to ignore. Furthermore, it was necessary to protect the wall from its true enemy, the ocean itself. Therefore, engineers installed large energy-dissipating blocks, tetrapods, dolos, and similar structures. Along many sections, these act as natural shock absorbers, breaking the force of the waves before they reach the base of the barrier. These concrete modules, arranged in a seemingly chaotic manner, follow precise calculations that determine how the water should disperse upon impact. Without these elements, the wall would be directly exposed to the raw energy of the sea, significantly reducing its lifespan. Thus, the Japanese defense became more than just a wall. It transformed into a carefully planned artificial ecosystem designed to survive daily contact with one of the most destructive forces on the planet. As the seawall advanced along the coast, a question began to trouble engineers, researchers, and even government officials. What if all this monumental effort wasn't enough? While simulations indicated that the structure would significantly reduce the impact of a tsunami, none could predict absolute scenarios. The ocean has always had the capacity to surprise, and Japan's collective memory holds records of waves that exceeded all expectations. This uncertainty led experts to explore grim hypotheses, including the possibility of a mega tsunami generated by a tectonic rupture even greater than that of 2011, a theoretically rare event, but not impossible. The seawall, however imposing, could not promise invincibility. The most unsettling aspect of this finding lies precisely in the nature of the sea. The ocean's force acts not only in terms of height and speed, but also in how it exploits faults, unevenness, and structural vulnerabilities. In some independent studies, researchers have indicated that a sufficiently high tsunami could overflow the wall in certain sections, transforming the wall into a blade that would redirect the water inland with even greater speed. This hypothetical scenario has reignited profound discussions in the country about the extent to which humanity can truly protect itself against phenomena that exceed its capacity for modeling and prediction. The wall, however solid it may seem, remains a human response to forces that remain incomprehensible in their entirety. But the true climax of this monumental project lies not in the engineering, but in the reflection it imposes on human fragility. The 400-kilometer wall represents a nation's attempt to confront the fear that has accompanied it for centuries. The fear that a single instant could redefine lives, cities, and entire histories. While it protects, it exposes the awareness that absolute security is an illusion. The barrier is not a symbol of victory over nature, but a reminder that survival is always negotiated, never guaranteed. Japan, in erecting this colossal structure, does not reaffirm its dominion over the sea, but rather its determination to continue existing in its presence, even knowing that the threat will never disappear. At the end of this journey through the largest coastal barrier project in Japanese history, one truth remains impossible to ignore. Japan built not just a concrete wall, but a monument to human persistence in places where the threat never disappears. The structure remains there, silent, facing day after day the same sea that has already destroyed entire cities. Its presence imposes an inevitable reflection. To what extent can engineering protect us from forces that surpass human comprehension? The wall promises no peace, only time. A minimal interval between the alarm and the wave, where lives can be saved or lost. This monumental work forces us to look at the fragile relationship between humanity and nature. It shows how much we depend on precise calculations, rigorous studies, and difficult decisions to try to balance what, by its very nature, has always been unbalanced. And yet the risk remains, buried beneath each concrete foundation. Faced with this scenario, an inevitable question arises. If you lived in these coastal communities, would you entrust your life to a wall? Or would you prefer to abandon the coast and accept that the ocean will one day demand its price again? If this story made you think about the limits of engineering and human vulnerability in the face of the sea, leave your comment below. I want to know your honest opinion. Don't forget to like this video because that really helps us reach more people with our work. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to our channel to follow new investigations, analyses, and stories that reveal the hidden side of the world's megastructures. And if you want to continue exploring topics like this, just move on to the next recommended video. There's always something new, obscure, and fascinating waiting to be discovered.